Meeting to order then of the Nebraska State Highway Commission. And Sarah, if you would please call the roll.
She's muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me restart that. For the record, the State Highway Commission is conducting this meeting virtually via WebEx per the recent executive order issued by Governor Ricketts. There is the Open Meetings Act link in the chat if anybody's interested. This meeting is being recorded. The date is Friday, December 11th, 2020, and the time is 8:33 a.m. Commissioner Koppel. Commissioner Koppel? Up there he is. Can you hear me?
Might be muted.
I see him. I know he can hear us. Okay. So Commissioner Hawks?
Here.
Commissioner Wolford?
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland? I do not see Commissioner Fagerland on yet. Okay, Commissioner Kindig? Commissioner Kindig? I see him on, but not hearing it. Commissioner Leithgreen?
Here.
And Commissioner Gertis.
Mary's still having trouble. I'm giving her the phone number so she can at least call in. So she might be calling in here in a minute.
Okay, that's okay. We still have a quorum. All right, Jim.
Okay. The first item on our agenda this morning is approval of the October 23rd, 2020 meeting minutes. If everybody had a chance to review them, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I would move for approval.
Second.
Please call the roll.
All right, Commissioner Koppel. Dave's still having sound issues, it looks like. Commissioner Hawks?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford?
Yes.
Commissioner Fager is not on. Commissioner Kindig? I think we're still having mic issues. Commissioner Gertis is not on yet, and Commissioner Leithgreen.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is introductions and announcements, and I think probably the biggest announcement that we have this morning is we'd like to welcome Alec Grashinsky, who is our, or soon to be, our new District 2 Highway Commissioner. So with that, Alec, if you want to just say hi, maybe tell us a little bit about you.
Sure thing. Good morning, everyone. Alec Garinsky, newly appointed District 2 Commissioner. I reside in Omaha with my wife and 3 kids. A couple of them may find their way into this screen here later this morning. I've been here in Omaha about 15 years now. Originally from Nebraska, spent a few years in Kansas in my high school days. I work at First National Bank of Omaha. I lead our community development, corporate philanthropy, economic development division. Been there for about 7 years. And I've been doing community and economic development throughout my entire career, from strategy to finance to philanthropy, all those kind of things. So transportation is a big piece of community and economic development, and I'm proud to be able to play a role here. So thanks, everyone. Look forward to serving with you.
Thank you, Alec. We look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully maybe in January, and we'll have you sworn in at that time, and we'd just like to welcome you aboard. With that, Sarah, I guess I'm not sure how you want to do the other introductions of those who may be either on the phone or on the WebEx. So I would leave that to you if you want to do that.
It looks like there's quite a few people still logging on. I will say we do. I see Deb Cottier on the phone. And that's all I can recognize right now, but I'm sure more will be jumping on shortly.
Okay, well, again, we're glad to have everybody on board this morning. And we've got some interesting topics to cover here, so we'll get going with that. The first meeting business would be to receive our director's remarks, and we'll receive those from Mo, who is our acting director.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope that everybody can hear me okay. If you would please put your thing on mute so we got less echoing going on. I appreciate that. Well, it looks like life keeps going on. Last week we said goodbye to Kyle, and this week we say hello to Alec. So the department's business continues. I just want to first of all again thank Kyle Schneeweiss for his 5.5 years of service to the department. We got a lot done in the last 5.5 years, and I'm hopeful and confident that we're going to do just as good, if not better, moving forward. Alec, welcome to the business of roads. We can use some philanthropy. We need some money to build some roads. So if you know some real people with some big, deep pockets, send them our way. I know Tim Weander has met you already. He's obviously very impressed and he can't wait to work with you. And we're working to put something on the calendar for Khalil Jabber and I to also meet with you. So I have a few topics that I want to cover today. The top one, of course, is the COVID-19. As you know, this has been hitting the entire world and in a negative way, and the Department of Transportation is really not a exception. We did really well March through, I would say, September, and then once October and November hit, I think we started getting a whole lot of cases. In fact, the districts now really are getting hit on a weekly basis. We have 5 or 6 positives, and you know what that means in our business. Once you get somebody positive, then you have 4 or 5 other people that have to be quarantined. The good news is I would say that since the pandemic started, the department continues to do planning, design, construction, maintenance, and operation, pretty much business as usual. People are working from home, doing things, whatever they can to get their tasks done. Unfortunately, there are a great majority of our people who just can't do work from home, especially in this winter as we're getting close to getting some big events. Our districts are really going to be tasked for this winter. If you can imagine, we need snowplow operators in those trucks once the snow hits to go to do their routes. And if we have 4 or 5 people that are home in quarantine, and it could be a really a unfortunate situation if we can't get to our routes as quick as we like to. But again, the district engineers have created contingency plans, plan A, plan B, plan C. What will happen if this happens? What will happen if I lose this yard, for example, a number of people? So we have some plans in place, but I just want to give you a little heads up that with your constituents out in the district, if you get a call that says we have issues, snow hasn't been plowed yet, and they're used to much higher level of service, that you know what's going on. The other topic I want to touch base with you is the LRTB, the Long Range Transportation Plan. As you know, we brought in all the stakeholders and transportation experts to really help us develop this roadmap for the next 20 years. This document is now in the draft phase, and we just sent it to the Department of Leadership, I believe, early this week. And next week, we're going to meet with them and get all of their comments. All the recommendations are pretty much finalized. We need to do still some tweaking. And then once we get there, we hope by mid-January, we're going to get into the public involvement phase, that we're going to start getting public input into the process. And if it all goes according to what we hope it goes, in sometime in next spring, Sarah will probably put this topic on our agenda when you guys come to Lincoln, and we'll go over the plan with you from top to bottom and get your thoughts on it. So just to stay tuned for that. The other important thing that happens every year is the needs study. As you know, those of you who've been here with us for a long time, every year by law, the Department of Transportation will do an analysis of what we think, what our needs are for the highways for the next 20 years. We bring out our crystal ball once a year, and we look the future, we look at the trends, we look at what we think is going to happen, and then we make some estimation on the asset preservation and capital improvement and modernization, things like that. And every year it seems like things are getting tougher to predict because of the technology, that how rapidly it changes. And so we do the best we can. This week I presented to the Committee of Transportation and Telecommunication, as well as the Appropriation Committee. I made the presentation of the needs study to them, and the senators asked some really good questions. We have the reports in your packet. I believe yesterday you should have the final reports on those. In a nutshell, I'm not going to go through the whole report, but the 20-year needs for the DOT is at $13.6 million. And as I said, they're divided basically in three major categories. The asset preservation piece is $8.2 billion of it, basically taking care of what we have, right? So the modernization is about $1.8 billion. That's modernizing what we already have to make it safer. And then, of course, the capital improvement to the tune of $3.6 billion is building additional capacity, additional lanes, interchanges, expressways, and what have you. So the other report that you have in your packet is a TIA and a BNA report. As you recall, we have a Transportation Innovation Act and Nebraska Build Act, and both of those programs provide the DOT with some revenues that we are pretty much earmarking them for capital improvement projects. And so in that report, you will see the progress we've made, and a couple of those projects, actually, we're going to have a presentation for you today. But you'll see that we make great progress, and we continue to do so. In fact, we've accomplished about 70% of the original expressway system, and we keep working on it. Speaking of presentations, today you will get three presentations from three of our best. Kyle Keller first will start talking about the 275 project, and many of you have been involved off and on in this highway project. As you recall, this was our design build project that we went asked for some design build proposals. Seems like forever ago, that we didn't like any of the prices. We quickly decided to break it up into 4 projects and do it the traditional way, design, bid, build. And my hat's off to Khalil and his team for turning on the dime in such a quick manner to get these projects designed and ready to go. And you will hear from Kyle on the Scrivener West piece, and we're going to be asking for your approval on the relinquishment of that piece of highway. So you will be pleased with the progress we've made on those, and if it all goes as planned, we hope to have announced a letting for those projects soon. Next.
Hey, Mo, we lost you. I think somehow it got muted.
Okay, I think what happened is my pen hit the the mute button. Okay, next is Highway 85. Most of you guys probably know Highway 85 pretty well by now, and I think Dave, you drove the whole thing, so you're probably pretty familiar with it. As you know, this is really there are 4 jurisdictions from top to bottom: Omaha, Ralston, La Vista, and Papillion. We're going to be asking you for your approval for relinquishment of the Papillion piece. And we did La Vista last time, and we're going to shortly come to you with the Omaha and the Ralston piece. And then finally, Bill Waiting is going to talk about the exciting project of 385 up in the Panhandle. That's L62a North. That piece to the Alliance that's going to get completed. We just led that project, and Bill is going to talk about what is all involved. As you know, we got a little over $18 million of federal grant to move this project forward, and the project is designed to start on July 1. We have some challenges we have to deal with as far as cash flow, to make sure that this project can be built and we can finance it. So we started with the contract itself, calls for the contractor to start July 1. We're looking at our cash flow daily, some of us hourly, to see how well it's set up perhaps for us to allow the contractor to start sooner should the contractor chooses to do so. And I think the signs look good right now. We just had a letting yesterday. It was a good letting. And so we're hoping that maybe we can talk the contractor to start in April if they want to and be able to finance it. But still, decision hasn't been totally made, but the project is let and everybody's ready to go. Finally, I really want to caution everybody who's on the call about the winter. It's coming. It's going to be wet, cold, snowy, icy, and we always say buckle up and phone down because it's good for your good safety, and it's even more important in the wintertime when you come across a patch of ice. So I ask everybody to recommit themselves to buckling up and putting that phone down when you're driving. So I feel good. I gave my safety message. Now I can turn it back over to Jim.
Thank you, Mo. Any questions or comments on Mo? I would just like to say, Mo, that I appreciate your update on the COVID, because I know that with this front moving through, it is going to be important that we have people out there on those snow plows, and you guys have always done an excellent job of getting out there and maintaining at least that interstate corridor and all the other highways throughout the state. And so again, my hat's off to you and all those people out in the districts who are setting in those snow plows.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mo? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is the application for highway naming. And hopefully everybody had the information in their packet. But with that, Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, we did receive one highway naming application this year regarding Highway 22. The name request is for Pawnee Scouts Memorial Highway. We do have Nick Mosier online and Nancy Carlson online to present that to you. You two should be able to unmute your lines at this time. I've given you that permission. So if you guys want to take it away and present to the Highway Commission, they'll ask any questions after you present.
Can you hear me? Okay. I've got a double open here. I just wonder if I can.
Let me see if I can help you just a minute here.
Do you, Nancy?
Yep, Nancy, I can hear you.
For some reason, I can't get our video on.
We can see you okay. Let me help. Nick here.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy. I'm gonna get double feedback otherwise.
Okay, yes. Okay, for the board, I don't know if you heard before, we want to thank you for the opportunity to submit this to the Nebraska Highway Commission. We wanted to start out, I don't know if you got your packets that what we submitted with the nomination. Did everybody get one of those? Well, first we have the, for Highway 22 from Genoa to Fullerton is the area of the Highway 22 that we want to submit. And the eastern terminus is where the Pawnee Village was, and during the reservation period, and that is where the Pawnee Scouts were recruited from. And now at the present time, it is the, there's a memorial there for where over 800 Pawnee have been reburied there. So it's a very important spot for the Pawnee and for other people. Then all along this Highway 22 from Genoa to Fullerton, it is there's a lot of villages, known villages there from the Pawnee. And then we get to the western terminus, and that is where it is close to the Pawnee sacred site. And also just south of there, it is the Nance County Veterans Memorial, and that honors the veterans. And the Pawnee Scouts were the first veterans from what is now Nance County named. And then the Pawnee Scouts were important to Nebraska because they helped protect the Union Pacific as it was built. The railroad line was built across Nebraska. And then they also helped with the Union Army, with the federal government's army and protecting the whole part of Nebraska. Do some people have some questions, or Jerry or Nick, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just as a here, and unless the veteran is remote service, seems
Hey,
like
Nick, I think we're still getting pretty bad feedback on your microphone.
want me to use.
If you want to use the chat box, I can read anything into it.
Okay. Is that better? The veteran, I got together with Jerry and we talked about this, memorializing the Pawnee Scouts, and this is their last statement before they were moved to Oklahoma. Probably, well, since over 150, and it's just that this was a really good idea to memorialize them, bring awareness to their service and sacrifice to the development not only of Nebraska but of the country, the railroad, and a lot of people we talk to really don't know much about the Pawnee Scouts. So we thought this was a good way to bring positive light, to their service and to keep them forward for generations to come. Other than that, like I said, we are in a historical rich area of Nebraska, and we have seen an uptick of visitors through the passport program at the Genoa U.S. Indian School Foundation, and we hope that continues, and we think it will, and this would just be another way to bring recognition to those of the Pawnee Scouts. So that's about all I have.
Are there any questions from the commissioners?
This is Jerome. Am I coming through? I've had trouble speaking.
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
And there's several letters of recommendation from various city officials. Could one of the individuals that are presenting the presentation inform me as to how, or is the Pawnee Nation even exist anymore? If so, are they in support of this?
Yes, we talked with the Pawnee Nation. I think I sent a copy of their recommendation. The Pawnee Business Council sent a recommendation that they are supporting of this. And we've had quite a few different chiefs and other ones that come up, and they are in support of this project.
Which recommendation did you say that was from the Pawnee?
It's from the Pawnee Nation. They send up several delegations up each year to this area. They are located in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
Can you guys see me? I'll find a copy of that if you can see us. I didn't know if our camera was working.
Your camera is working on my screen.
Okay, I'll get that copy. I don't know if you can see this.
Know that we can see that. What is it? It's the Pawnee Nation of Nebraska. Is that what it says, Nancy?
It's Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. It's their resolution, and it is signed by Walter Echohawk, who is president of the Can I adjust this some way for you to read?
I don't think we're gonna be able to see it from here, but if you want to read it so that we can hear it, that would work.
Okay, resolution dated July 20th of this year. Whereas the Pawnee Business Council is the supreme governing body of the Pawnee Nation and is authorized to conduct business on behalf of the Pawnee Nation in accordance with Article 4, Sections 1 and 2 of the Pawnee Nation Constitution and bylaws. And whereas the Pawnee Business Council met in special session on July 20th, 2020 at the Pawnee Nation Building 64, duly authorized with a quorum present, and the Pawnee Nation is known for its warrior society and have been honored for the work of the Pawnee Scouts and their relationship with the United States government, and the state of Nebraska legislatures wish to honor the Pawnee Nation in their homelands, and the Pawnee Nation Division of Cultural Resources requests the support and approval from the Pawnee Business Council to have a highway named the Pawnee Scouts Memorial Highway. It is therefore resolved that the Pawnee Business Council does hereby approve and so to have a highway in the state of Nebraska to be named the Pawnee Scout Memorial Highway. Be it further resolved to approve the Pawnee Business Council President, Vice President, and our Executive Director to take all actions necessary to fulfill the mandates of this resolution. And then it is certified. Do you have some other questions on that?
Thank you.
We work with the Pawnee quite a bit. I've contacted Judy Gosh-Kabosh, who's the director of the Nebraska director of the Commission on Indian Affairs, and she is aware of it and supportive of it, and various other people are too.
The one question I have is that there is no other designation along this stretch of highway. Is that correct?
That is correct. It goes where it branches from Highway 39, and then it ends at where it at Highway 14 near Fullerton.
This is Jim, and I guess after reviewing your information and being kind of a history buff myself, and living here where Buffalo Bill was, and we have Fort McPherson out here where the North Brothers were, with some of these scouts, I feel that it's very appropriate, especially knowing now, based on your information, that this highway basically follows one of the routes that the Pawnee used to get from village to village, and that they were actually recruited from that area. So personally, I would very much be in support of this naming.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the group?
Jim, do we need a motion for approval?
Yes.
I would so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Sarah, would you please call the roll?
Just make sure that we're clear, whereas the Pawnee Scouts, so State Highway 22 follows the Loup River Valley, it would be the following section be named Pawnee Scouts Memorial Highway, Highway 22 from intersection of Highway 14 and Highway 22 north of Fullerton to the intersection of Highway 22 and Highway 39 south of Genoa. Commissioner Cockle.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hawks?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford?
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland?
Yes.
Commissioner Kindig? We're still having sound issues. Commissioner Gertis? I think there's still some sound issues. And Commissioner Leafgreen?
Yes.
All right. Approved.
And I'd just like to say thank you to the group who put in all the work to do the research and for presenting to the board this morning. And again, I think it's important that we do everything we can to protect the history of our state. And I think that this is an excellent move. And so again, thank you for bringing that forward to us.
On behalf of the Genoa Indian School Foundation and the Pawnee Nation, we thank you very much.
And commissioners, as a side note, there is a draft resolution in your packet that you should have received. If everybody's okay with that, I'll insert your electronic signatures on that so that we can send that to the governor's office for official approval.
It's okay with me.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item of business on our agenda, and it's the 2021 Highway Commission meetings calendar. And again, Sarah, I'll ask you to take the floor for us.
Okay, everybody should have received a 2021 calendar. For those online, I'm trying to get it pulled up for you. I'm sorry. Maybe. Sorry, everybody, just trying to load. Okay, can everybody see the calendar on their screen?
No.
Let's try it over here. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so on the screen is the proposed 2021 calendar. Similar to what we've done in the past, we would have the District 2 program hearing in Omaha on March 26th, the District 8 program hearing in Ainsworth on June 25th, the District 6 program hearing in North Platte on August 27th, and then the District 7 program hearing in McCook on October 22nd. We would also have Highway Commission meetings on January 22nd at NDOT headquarters, May 21st at NDOT headquarters, September 17th, and December 10th at NDOT headquarters. Does anybody have any adjustments they want made, or is everybody okay with this?
Hearing no comments, Sarah, do we need a motion to approve this, or?
I need a motion to approve in a second.
I'll move to approve the 2021 calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Okay.
If you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Koppel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford,
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland,
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen.
Yes.
And it looks like Gertis and Kindig were still having sound issues, so that is approved. All right.
Okay, now we'll move on to the 2022 Highway Commission meetings calendar.
Here, this one. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, this is the proposed 2022 calendar. There's no locations identified yet. This is just to prepare for logistical reasons. We would have the District 5 program hearing on June 24th, the District 1 program hearing on August 26th, the District 4 program hearing on October 21st, and I've recommended the District 3 program hearing would be on March 25th. We would have Highway Commission meetings at NDOT headquarters on January 28th, May 20th, September 23rd, and December 9th. Does anybody have any adjustments? I know it's a little over a year out, so. If you guys have no adjustments, I'll just need a motion to approve.
I would move for approval.
Second.
Okay. That's approved. Commissioner Koppel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford,
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland,
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The next item on our agenda for this morning would be US 275 Scrivener to West Point. And Kyle, are you on board here to present to the commission?
I'm here this morning.
Good. The floor is
Can you hear
yours.
me okay? Okay. You should be, I can see the presentation that Sarah is sharing. Good morning, members of the Highway Commission. Good morning, Director Mo Jamshidi and other attendees on this WebEx. Again, my name is Kyle Keller. I'm an engineer in the Roadway Design Division. I have the privilege this morning to present our Scrivener to West Point project. I'm going to stop sharing my video so you can concentrate on the presentation here. Sarah, next slide, please. This morning, we'll be talking about the scope and the new direction. Director Mo did kind of steal some of my thunder here this morning. He presented a little bit and kind of debriefed you of where we're at on the project and the different construction packages that we've split this corridor up into. We will be asking the Highway Commission advise the governor for some approvals. There'll be two separate documents that we'll be requesting you to sign. One would be the Highway Commission policy document for corridor location, design, and access control, as well as a highway relinquishment resolution. I'm going to start by kind of going through this information, describing what we'll be asking for you today. And at the end of the presentation, I'll make a formal request of what we're asking. Next slide, sir. So again, we're talking about the Scrivener to West Point project. As Director Mo said, this was the former design build project. It was slotted to be NDOT's first design build project. It is now moving forward with our traditional design bid build methodology. I believe he had debriefed you on. We did receive proposals. We evaluated those. However, with the schedule and just how we evaluated that, it just made more sense to deliver it the traditional way. The corridor begins approximately 2 miles north of West Point and extends approximately 2 miles south of Scrivener. It's approximately 18.5 miles. The project intends to expand the existing 2-lane segment into a 4-lane expressway using our 2+2 method, where we keep the existing 2 lanes in place and construct 2 new lanes parallel to those existing lanes. That 2+2 approach is represented by the blue you see here on your screen. The segment up in West Point that is outlined in yellow is actually an existing 4-lane segment. It's not a part of the project. It'll be utilized as part of the 4-lane expressway. Within this corridor, there'll be 13 new bridges. Some of those are replacements on the existing side, and then there'll be obviously new bridges that would parallel on the new lane side. If you focus down towards the lower part of that screen, you'll see a green segment to the west of Scrivener. That is a proposed 4-lane bypass to the west of Scrivener. This also incorporates a new Pebble Creek levee system. The levee embankment would actually be within our roadway embankment, so it'll be a dual purpose system. And then, Sarah, if you just hit space, it should bring up the transition here, show the construction packages. Here we go. And so here are the 4 different construction packages within this corridor. So again, NDOT, we evaluated these. As a design build project, it made sense to have one big project and have a design build contractor go after these. Our traditional design bid build method, it no longer makes sense to have one large project. So in order to make this a more competitive bidding process, we did split the corridor up into 4 different construction packages based on the scope of work and logical transitions within the corridor. Next slide, please. So based on this, NDOT will be requesting the Highway Commission advise the governor for this corridor location. Next slide. Now that we discussed the location and scope of this project, we'll discuss a little more detail of our design approach. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a 2+2 design. The existing lanes will remain in place, and we will resurface those lanes to maintain that and preserve that existing asset. Minor earth shoulder construction and minor grading would be conducted on that existing side. The new lanes, we would create new roadway embankment, we would create new pavement structure, and then establish drainage and other grading throughout the project. The lanes would be separated by a 54-foot depressed median within the rural area of the corridor. By using this 2+2 approach, we can reduce the time it takes to construct the project. We can reduce the overall cost of the project, and then it reduces the impacts to the traveling public as well. During maintenance of traffic, we can keep the existing 2 lanes in place and utilize those for maintenance traffic while the new lanes are being constructed. Next slide, please. So that was the majority of the project. So here's, as I mentioned, the Scrivener bypass to the west of Scrivener. So to orient yourself here, this is a typical section of what would be the southbound lanes, or eastbound, depending on how you want to orient yourself directionally here. So that kind of hatched area, as you can see, that is the new levee embankment. So that will be constructed first, and then the roadway embankment and pavement structure would be constructed over top of that levee. As you can see, that levee is shifted over more in the clear zone and towards the shoulder, so it's not directly underneath the pavement structure itself. Next slide, please. With the corridor location, NDOT will be requesting the approval of the Highway Commission for this design concept. Advise the governor for the approval of this design concept. Next slide, please. The next item for discussion is access control. So access control is the regulation of the accesses abutting the highway facility. How this was described to me and right away that I've always found interesting and easy for people to understand is, within our right of way, imagine NDOT owns the fence, and then the other adjacent property owners abutting that highway, they own the gate. So within this corridor, we will, again, regulate the amount of accesses within the highway facility and create access breaks that will be designated for the public to use to whether get into their residence, county road intersections, field drives, or businesses. By utilizing this concept, we really provide a much safer environment. Again, with the expansion from existing 2 lanes to 4 lanes, it is a different highway out there now with 4 lanes. And there's already quite a bit of traffic out there. There could be more now that we have a 4-lane expansion. So this will provide a safer environment that increases the overall efficiency of movement, since we've reduced the amount of openings that people can enter and exit the facility. And it reduces accidents by minimizing these conflict points. Next slide, please. In terms of this project specifically, we have relocated and/or consolidated those existing accesses that were currently in place, so that they make sense and are more efficient with our 4-lane expansion. We've established appropriate spacing based on NDOT's criteria. Really, to start here, if we imagine this corridor starting at county road intersections that intersect with the highway. So we've provided full accesses at those county road intersections. Those are typically spaced about 1 mile apart. So for sure within every mile there's a full access. In between those, whether there's residences or other needs for entrances, we've spaced those to provide full access approximately 1,000 feet apart and no more than 3 per mile. When I say full access, that means they can make a left or right whether they're in the southbound or northbound lanes. So they can cross across all the 4 lanes if needed to, or to make a maneuver through this corridor. Another thing that we've done as part of this project is we also encouraged some ride-in and ride-outs at field entrances. So I want to make a distinction that this is at field entrances, not residents out there. So these are drives that are used sparingly. Again, maybe during harvest time, planting time, things of that nature. What I mean by ride-in and ride-out is meaning if you were on the east side of the highway and then were wanting to go north towards West Point, you could make that right and go up towards West Point. You could not make a left out of that field entrance directly and cross the lanes and go down towards Scrivener. What you would have to do is make that right, go up to the next full access location, whether that be a county road, et cetera. And then, so there's some out of distance travel and turn back. Again, so these were agreed upon by the landowners out there. We discussed with them. We made sure this made sense with their operations, and this is really just to leave that existing interest in place if they so choose to have that there. And what this does is reduce, extending frontage road areas, which means additional roadway embankment and basically a separate little drive that parallels the highway for up to a half a mile. So this reduces project impacts and project costs. And again, it does fit their overall operation since it's staying in place. Another option that we provided was for these public accesses, to be directly off of county roads versus state highways. So as part of access control, we don't necessarily have to provide access directly off the state highway system. So they can come off of the county road first and then, have full access, onto our state highway from there. Next slide, please. And so again, NDOT will be requesting that the Highway Commission advise the governor for the approval of this access control concept. Next slide. And so to again, kind of make the distinction here, those first items were part of the Highway Commission policy. So the corridor location, design, and access control concept will all be one separate document. You may already have that in your packet. And so we'll be requesting you execute that here later in the presentation. The next portion of this is, and there's a separate document for relinquishment resolution. So NDOT has the authority to relinquish a segment of the state highway system if it no longer serves the state highway needs. As mentioned, we are proposing to bypass Scrivener to the west. So we are proposing to relinquish that segment to Scrivener and Dodge County to maintain and operate that highway in lieu of the state highway system. So these next slides here really kind of go through that relinquishment resolution and describe what is within that document, and then it's kind of the Cliff Notes version, if you will. So as part of this, we are looking to obtain advice from the State Highway Commission to recommend to the governor that based on these statutes, we relinquish these segments. The segments in question are just going to be described today as the Scrivener relinquishment segment and the Dodge County relinquishment segment. Sarah, next slide. First, we will discuss the Scrivener segment. So to orient yourself here, the left of the slide would be northbound. Again, this is bypass of Scrivener to the west. The segment in question is within that red boxed area. So this is within the existing corporate limits of Scrivener. NDOT proposes to relinquish this segment to the city of Scrivener. Once the bypass is completed, traffic is shifted to the bypass, and then this section will be resurfaced where the pavement metrics and everything will be up to up to standard, and Scrivener will be left with a high quality surfacing through this area. Next slide, Sarah. So this slide at the same orientation, where left is more your north side. There's two segments in question here. So again, as part of this bypass, there'll be construction of a new Pebble Creek levee system. The existing levee system is a ring levee system through Scrivener, and if that on that again that left side, so more towards the north, there is a gap within that levee, and they put a closure structure in there when they used during flooding stages. So it's not a permanent structure. However, since the bypass is going to incorporate a new levee, we are proposing that be a permanent fixture to where Scrivener no longer has to put that up for flood protection. So within that the levee system will be closed off. Within that levee system to the corporate limits in that box to the left, that is the northern portion of the Dodge County Relinquishment Segment. If we pan to the right of the screen, that second box, that is the southern portion of the Dodge County Relinquishment Segment. So it's from the corporate limits to County Road 14. Again, as part of the relinquishment agreement, the bypass would be constructed, traffic would be shifted to the bypass. The segments would be resurfaced similar to the Scrivener segment, to where then Dodge County is left with pavement in good condition for their operation and maintenance of that system. Next slide, please. So continuing on with the details in this relinquishment resolution, the city of Scrivener and Dodge County are considered the local road authorities that would be accepting this relinquishment. Again, NDOT has discussed this relinquishment with these authorities. As part of this discussions, it's resulted in relinquishment agreements for each entity. So there's two separate agreements. As described, the bypass would be constructed, traffic would be shifted to that bypass. The segments within that Scrivener area that is now would be resurfaced prior to Scrivener and Dodge taking over those segments. NDOT feels, based on this, that we have met our statutory conditions for requirements to relinquish these segments. The local road authorities have executed those respective agreements. And so they do agree to the terms and conditions within those agreements. Next slide, please. And so the final part of the relinquishment resolution, it will state that NDOT will be seeking the State Highway Commission to provide advice to the governor in support of these segments of the Scrivener Relinquishment Segment and the Dodge County Relinquishment Segment. So that is, again, the summary of that relinquishment resolution that we're going to be requesting you to sign. Next slide. So based on all that information that I've described today, I have two separate requests on behalf of NDOT. One is for the State Highway Commission to provide its advice to the governor of Nebraska in support of NDOT's proposal for the expansion of the US 275 corridor from Scrivener to West Point, and for the use of controlled access as part of the project. So we request the Highway Commission advise the governor for approval of the corridor location and design, and approval of the access control concept described today. The second portion is NDOT requests that the State Highway Commission provide advice to the governor in support of NDOT's request for the relinquishment of both the Scrivener and Dodge County segment described. We are requesting that they advise the governor for these approvals, and we have the agreement of these local road authorities described. That is, again, that's my formal request here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions for Kyle? Hearing none. Sarah, are you looking for motions on separate resolutions?
Yeah, so in the packet, there's two resolutions. There's resolution 2020-2 and 2020-3, which is what Kyle had presented in his presentation. As part of the statute, because District 2, Alec hasn't been sworn in, the Highway Commission would need to designate somebody to go and inspect the routes before we can vote on approval of resolutions.
Okay. Dave, that's kind of up in your area, and you were kind enough to do that for us last time. Would you be willing to do that for us again?
That specific roadway on November 28th in the morning, traveling from the north to the south, and later that day from the south to the north. So I have inspected it. If that would meet the requirements.
You've inspected US 275?
Yes, I drove it.
Okay. Okay. So that's already been completed. So we would need a motion to approve resolution 2020-2. We'll start with that one.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so in accordance with hold on here. Sorry, talking through time. Okay, so the Nebraska State Highway Commission hereby advises and recommends the following to the governor of the state of Nebraska: approval of the corridor location and design, approval of the use of access control on the segment of Scrivener's West Plant on US 275. Commissioner Kopp.
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks.
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford.
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland.
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen.
Yes.
And then it looks like we had Commissioner Curtis sound back on. Mary? Maybe not. Okay, well, that's okay. It's approved. All right, let's move to resolution 2020-3. This is request of NDOT for advice of the Highway Commission and consent of the governor for highway segment relinquishment, Highway US 275 to the city of Scrivener and Dodge County.
I'll move to approve.
Second, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Koppel.
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks.
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford.
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland.
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen.
Yes.
Okay, that is approved. I'll insert the electronic signatures as I'm doing the others and get that over to the governor's office.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for doing that for us, Sarah. Are we ready to move on then to the next item, which is N85 Papillion Relinquishment Approval? With that, Mike, are you prepared to present to the commission this morning?
I am here. How's my audio?
Very good.
Good. I also turned on my video. I am in the office today in road design through this COVID experience. We've had a pretty good turnout in our division. Just to let you know, we have probably 40% of our division that shows up to work each day. And of course, people are showing up at work here in the office and also at home. Just to let you know that commissioners and Director Jamshidi, I'm the roadway design engineer, and I am here to present the next phase of the N85 relinquishment. I'm doing that for Tim Weander. Tim has presented information on this corridor the last two meetings. He was not available today, but I am going to I am going to request at the end of this that you provide advice on the Papillion segment. Tim has been representing NDOT in negotiations with Papillion. Next slide. So this gives you an idea of where the N85 highway is in the Omaha area. You can see it's starting at the south. It goes from 370 up to Highway 275 on the north end through Papillion, La Vista, Ralston, and Omaha. At one time, this highway served these communities, and when they were smaller, it connected these communities to the other state highways. But it's really the character of the highway is now really more like a city street, an urban arterial. Next slide. Is that I can't. Oh, here it comes, coming in kind of slowly. And this slide is one that I took from Tim's presentation, so I'm sure you've seen it before, but it's just trying to give you an idea of the character of the street. It really is not, it's really more like a city street, an urban arterial now. It's 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction. A lot of it has protected left turn lanes. It has housing development along it and commercial development along it. On the right side, you can see that it does go through Omaha, Ralston, La Vista, and Papillion. So at the October meeting, Tim made a similar presentation, and he discussed La Vista segment, which is in the middle. La Vista segment is 1 mile long, and at that meeting, he requested the Highway Commission advise the governor to approve the relinquishment of that segment between Giles Road and Harrison Street. Next slide. So just for reference, all these communities now have expanded and annexed more area. Again, you can see this connection between 370 on the south and 275 on the north. Starting from the north, now Ralston connects to 275 there as shown. La Vista in the middle has annexed west all the way out to I-80. And Papillion is connected by 2 highways now, 370 on the south, and it is annexed all the way out to N50 on the west. Next slide. So as Kyle commented, relinquishment is authorized by state statutes. And so I've listed the state statutes here. We have been, Tim has mostly been in coordination with Papillion and have been negotiating this relinquishment agreement. They've reviewed the highway and the bridge. There is one bridge on this segment. It goes over the Papio Creek. As part of this process, we have presented a notice of offer to relinquish the jurisdictional control to the city of Papillion. And we've also provided a negotiated MOU that describes some of the terms of the relinquishment. Next slide. So at the September meeting of the Highway Commission, Tim's presented at the September meeting and at the October meeting. So at the September meeting, he presented this whole corridor and to get kind of conceptual approval of the relinquishment. At the time, Commissioner Koppel agreed to conduct a field inspection of N85, and he has driven it from north to south and then back to the north again. In October, based on the review and Commissioner Koppel's advice, the Commission supported advising the governor to relinquish N85 segment through La Vista, that 1 mile section. And so we are in the process of finalizing that relinquishment for the La Vista segment. Next slide. So over the last couple months, we've been negotiating with the city Papillion. We have offered to relinquish a 2.5 mile segment of N85 that goes from 370 up to Giles Road. The City of Papillion is expected to receive the documents. In fact, they have it in their hand, and they will. It'll be presented at their council meeting on Monday for approval. The terms of the MOU describe that we will relinquish the highway and the bridge in a good condition. Both those items are deteriorating, so we have agreed to pay the city $4 million over 2 payments for a future repair and resurfacing of the highway and a bridge replacement for that bridge over the Papio Creek. Next slide. We've also negotiated a few other items between us and the community, and so we're going to agree to that as part of the relinquishment. So you can see here, I've listed a few of the items that I thought you'd be interested in. There's a gateway type arch that they've requested that they can build over the old highway, and we've agreed to that. We've agreed to allow one of the streets that they wanted to connect as a right in, right out. We agreed to that. And they've had a pedestrian improvement study done, and we've agreed to allow them to make those pedestrian improvements along the highway. The city will be responsible for all the traffic control devices once they take over responsibility for the highway. Next slide. So as this slide pops up, just a couple items about relinquishment. Once we do relinquish the highway to the city, they would take over all responsibilities for future design, construction, reconstruction, maintenance, things like that, operations of the road. Federal Highway does play a role in this. They will review this request also and authorize the relinquishment. The segment will be reclassified based on now the urban nature of the road. The NDOT will still manage the property rights along the road and the access control. We would review any kind of sales and compensation for sales of any of the public right-of-way that's relinquished. We would also review any changes to outdoor advertising. We would review and approve any changes to access drives and intersections. And if this highway no longer served as in a transportation purpose, we would retake over possession of it. Next slide. So this slide concludes my presentation, but so what I'm requesting today is that NDOT's request to the Highway Commission that they advise the governor to approve our request to relinquish this part of N85 between N370 and Giles Road, 2.51 miles to the city of Papillion. And I do know that Commissioner Koppel has driven this road, and so if he I'd offer if he wanted to make any comments about N85, kind of that urban nature. It's really changed its character. It's not really a highway anymore. To me, it's more of an urban street. Commissioner Koppel.
Sure, thank you. I'll be happy to add a few comments. As indicated at one of the last meetings, I did drive it both from the north to the south and the south back then to the north. It is in effect a city street. It has both commercial and residential development along either side of the what's commonly referred to as 84th Street. But I would recommend the relinquishment.
Sarah?
Are there any other questions you guys have for Mike?
Yeah, I guess one is, why does NDOT retain access control and property rights when we relinquish?
Well, I will make a comment. It's part of the federal regulation. So that's just, it's guided by federal regulations that we have to retain those rights. Potentially some of the property was purchased using federal land. And so there is some there is some thought that you, of course, if you sell the right of way or you change it, anything where you'd receive compensation back, it should then go back into a transportation system. And so that's part of federal regulations that we have to retain part of those rights because it was potentially constructed as a federal aid project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mike. I guess at this point, what is the commission's decision on?
I would move for approval of the relinquishment of the, what are we doing, the Papillion section?
It'd be Highway 85 to City of Papillion.
Right. So moved.
Second.
Second. So the State Highway Commission approval of NDOT's request to relinquish the local road authority, the relinquished segment identified as N85 to the City of Papillion. Commissioner Koppel. Commissioner Koppel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford?
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland?
Yes.
Commissioner Leaf Green?
Yes.
Okay, been approved. I'll get signatures added and over to the governor's office.
Thanks again, Mike and Dave, for looking at that for the commission. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda then, US 385 L62a North update. Bill, are you available to present to the commission this morning?
Yes, sir, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. Good morning, commissioners and Director James Sheedy. My name is Bill Wheeling. I'm one of the assistant design engineers in Roadway Design Division, overseeing projects in District 2 and 5. And as you mentioned, here today to give an update on the project titled L62a North. Next slide. Go ahead and click a few times, Sarah, for the transitions. So L62a North is a project that is part of the Heartland Expressway. And briefly, the Heartland Expressway was identified as a federally designated high priority corridor as part of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act, or ICE-T, in 1991. A draft of a corridor and development plan was made available to the public in April of 2014 and was available throughout various locations in District 5. And some portions of the Heartland Expressway were already completed prior to the development of the plan.
Bill, are you still on?
Yeah, can you go ahead and click to the next slide, please? There you go. So just for those people who may not be familiar with the area, just wanted to give kind of an overview of it. You can see that we have the city of Scottsbluff and then Minnetonka along Highway 26. City of Bridgeport is down at the south at the confluence of Highway 385 and 88 and 26. Angora is located along 385, and at the north there we have the city of Alliance at the intersection of 385 and Highway 2. And if you click again, Sarah, the L62a project is located right there along 385. Next slide, please. The L62a project was designed using NDOT's 2+2 approach, which involves using the existing 2 lanes of highway in place and adding 2 new lanes adjacent to the existing lanes, resulting in a 4-lane divided highway. And where practical, we use the 3R strategy to preserve the existing 2 lanes. The picture you see here on your screen is a picture of the Alliance South portion that was opened in 2018. As you can see, the southbound lanes are the 2 new lanes with the concrete pavement, and the northbound lanes, you can see the 3R, the overlay that was done. So the 3R strategy to preserve those existing lanes. Where sorry. The median median width is 40 feet, and there's some areas north of town of Angora where we expanded the width of those the medians to meet standards for the 2 new southbound lanes and allow enough room for the reconstruction of the northbound lanes in the future. Next slide. Project will require grading and extension of culverts and improvements to intersections. We also have consolidated drives and intersections and acquired control access. And here I just wanted to show an example of one of the consolidations we did. You can see we have 2 accesses there. One of them was a skewed access, and we modified that to create an intersection there, eliminating 2 access points that were fairly close to each other, creating an intersection there along with some turn lanes as well. Next slide, please. Utility moves are close to completion. We have 1 utility that still needs to complete their move, and they're waiting on their poles and other hardware. Their goal is to have their move completed before April of 2021. All other utility moves have been completed with the exception of some seating work that needs to be redone to meet our expectations. Right-of-way purchases have been completed, and we do have our right-of-way certificate. And also in some areas along the project, the district had some issues with some snow drifting. So what we did was, instead of using a 3-to-1 backslope that we normally use on projects, we flattened that out to a 4-to-1 backslope to alleviate those snow drifting issues, and that in some instances required us to acquire right-of-way as well. And also railroad coordination was required. Next slide, please. A couple of other things I wanted to point out on the project as well. The first one is north of Angora, where we widened the shoulders on both the northbound and the southbound directions from 8 feet to 30 feet. This will allow the Nebraska State Patrol to check the load of trucks utilizing portable scales at a safe distance from the edge of the driving lane. Next slide, please. We've also laid out a wetland mitigation site towards the north end of the project. And this location mitigates the wetlands for not only the L62a project, but also the Align South project that's been recently open to traffic. Next slide. So as Director Jamshidi mentioned, the L62a project was awarded following the November 19, 2020 letting to Scott Contracting. The award was for just under $32 million. And part of that project cost will be aided by the addition of an $18.3 million infrastructure grant that was awarded to NDOT in June of 2018 by the U.S. Department of Transportation. And that graphic just shows some of the projects that were awarded in 2018 and 2019. And the project will take 2 construction years to complete. Next slide, please. So just wanted to show in this graphic here, you see the sections in blue are well, with the exception there from L62a to north, which is the current project we're talking about, all the other sections in blue there are 4-lane divided highways. And when L62a north is completed, that will be a 4-lane divided highway as well. So that leaves us 1 section in this high priority corridor that needs to be completed. Go ahead and click, Sarah, if you wouldn't mind. And that is that portion shown in red, which is the US 26 from Minutair to US 385 project. Next slide, please. US 26 from Minutair to US 385 project will convert 18 miles from a 2-lane facility to a 4-lane facility along US 26 and L62a. We plan on using the same 2+2 approach that we used on L62a North and Alliance South. The existing bridges will be assessed and used in place, rehabilitated, or replaced as necessary, and on the 2 new lanes we'll have new structures. Alfred Benish and Company was selected as the design team for this project. Our current planning estimate for the project is approximately $60 million. Next slide, please. Just wanted to give a quick picture of the complexity of the project. From this graphic, you can see, we have a number of creeks and irrigation canals, also some livestock operations and other businesses along there that we'll need to take into consideration when we try to determine where the 2 new lanes will be built, either on the north side or the south side of the existing 2 lanes. There's also some floodplain considerations and also other environmental considerations that need to be addressed. And so we will present this project to the Highway Commission in more detail once we have that corridor recommendation on where those 2 new lanes will be built. Next slide. So that concludes my presentation. I appreciate you letting me present it to you. And if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions for Bill? Hearing none, thank you, Bill, for taking your time this morning to present to the commission. I know that this project's been waited for a long time, so it's good to see it moving forward.
I'd just like to make a quick comment. Really just like to thank Kyle and his leadership in moving forward on, you know, this very important project for our area. And it's really exciting to see that the planning is ongoing between Minutair and Angora. Once completed, that will, you know, I think be a surprise to many people that all of this will get done. So just thanks again to the team at NDOT.
Thank you, Doug, for your comments. At this point in the agenda, we would ask for any public input. We would ask that if you do choose to speak, that you identify yourself, spell your name, and give us your affiliation with any organization that you might be. But at this point, we will open it up. And Sarah, I guess that would either be by voice comment or by a text or email that they have sent in to you.
So I've received no comments via mail or email for the Highway Commission, but if anybody does wish to comment, you can either raise your hand and I can unmute you, or you can use the chat box on the lower right corner. Okay, Deb Cottier. Deb, can you hear us?
I can. Are you able to hear me?
I am. Can you go ahead and state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, Deb Cottier, DEB-COTTIER. I'm in Chadron, Nebraska, and I chair the Heartland Expressway Association Board of Directors. Wanted to echo Doug Leafgreen's comments, in particular, the opportunity to continue to have input in the process. We're very pleased to be included in all of the work that NDOT has done. I visited this week with Doug Hovitt on a couple of different items, and he informed me of the opportunity to watch this today. So thanks to Doug on that as well. We wish we were able to see people in person, but frankly, this allows us to have a little better access sometimes instead of driving across the state. So appreciate the opportunity. The one thing that I will mention is we continue to work with the other partners, which include other federally designated high priority corridors on either side of us. And so I will be happy to share this information with them. And again, thanks to the folks at DOT for including us. And we look forward also to the time where you could drive from Kimball, Nebraska to Alliance, Nebraska on a 4-lane highway. But I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that we are still looking forward to some additional improvements on what we've been told would be considered a Super 2 portion of the Heartland Expressway, and that is essentially from Alliance, Nebraska north through Chadron to the South Dakota state line. So anytime there's an opportunity to improve passing lanes or widen shoulders or to do that work along with your usual maintenance work, we understand that's the plan at this point, but truly are thankful for the continued planning and design work that will happen between Minutair and the L62a junction. So thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else
I'm not seeing any more hands raised.
Okay, with that then, we will close the public comment period. Next item on there is remarks from the chair, and I would just like to say thank you to Sarah for making the technology work so that we could get together today. I'd also like to thank all the presenters who presented the information to the commission this morning. I also would again reiterate some of the things that Mo said about respecting those people who are out there on a daily basis taking care of our roads, especially as we enter into the winter time here. And with the COVID and the other situations that the districts are dealing with, I know it's tough, but it is a very important and vital job to keep our roads and our economy going. With that, thanks to all the commissioners for setting in on the meeting this morning. With that, Sarah, then I would ask for you to state the public meetings calendar.
So the next scheduled meeting for the State Highway Commission is scheduled for January 22nd at 8:30 a.m. At this time, we are planning to do another virtual format, given the recent executive order from Governor Ricketts. If that changes, make sure to make everybody aware of that. But that's all I have.
Okay. And again, we'll look forward to having Alec join us at the next meeting and getting him sworn in and on board. And so with that, is there anything else that needs to come in front of the commission here this morning? Seeing none, I would then say that we are adjourned. Thank you.
I wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yes, happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.